Hello everybody, my name is Jordan and I will be doing a presentation about what is marriage in a video series called Living Out the Truth of Marriage. I am very concerned today about the state of marriage, family life. It's evident that there is a marriage breakdown happening in today's culture. There's also debate about who should and who should not be considered in a marriage, what sort of relationship is and is not a marriage. And even though the law has already locked in a new vision of marriage, I don't believe that this discussion is over. And so today, of course, I'm going to be teaching it, but I want to frame this presentation in a way that hopefully disguises my stance on what marriage is. The reason I want to do that is because I believe that if both sides can come together and have a rational discussion, we can find or choose the vision of marriage that best serves family life, best serves the society at large. And so with that, let's go ahead and get on this journey. Marriage equality, that's the term, a slogan that is very familiar in our society today, in our culture. But what does that actually mean? What does that entail? Equality is something that we want the law to protect equally, right? And in this case, it's marriage. But that does not answer the question about what is marriage. And so when we're having these debates, it's always important to drag the conversation, the discussion back to this fundamental core question about what is marriage, right? Because until you define what marriage is, you can't really give way to the law of protecting it equally. It's kind of an abstract sort of thing. And those who are in favor, right, in favor of same-sex marriage, even they have certain limiting principles as to what constitute a marriage and what other sort of consenting adult relationship is not a marriage, right? It's important for marriage to be distinct from every other relationship in our life because, obviously government is going to give benefits to that relationship. It also helps keep society sort of structured, in a way that serves everybody, really well. So marriage, it's important that marriage is distinct and that we're able to recognize that, right? So there are two competing views about what marriage is today. One of them is the consent-based view. The other, natural marriage, right? I'm gonna call it the comprehensive view. Yeah. So, consent-based view. This is the one where you hear a lot of time, love is love, right? When I was doing the research, I was trying to find out those who were in favor of same-sex marriage, what their definition of marriage was. A philosopher by the name of John Corvino describes it as establishing your number one person. So what essentially what it is saying is that this relationship is distinct on the fact that it is the most intense, romantically, I'll just put romantically, emotionally, most intense romantic relationship, that you have, right? So its distinction compared to every other relationship is it is not distinct by the kind of relationship, right? But rather the degree. So it has everything that every other relationship has, everything that you would have with a friend, right? But just more of it. Okay, it's established. It's distinct by its intensity, right? Um, and it collapses marriage, like I said, down into simply companionship, and thereby making it a near impossible task to explain why government is interested in this relationship. Why? You know, why is government interested in this relationship? And because government normally hasn't been interested in people's love lives. And if this view of marriage is simply about love and the consent of adult romance, I guess again, you know, it brings back to why would government be interested in this sort of relationship. The other thing that this view of marriage does is it does not recognize any historical features, right? And this is problematic because, you know, as we are moving to a brighter day, right, trying to figure out, coming closer to a truth, right, the ultimate truth, you would think that we were going to follow this like a linear thinking, right? But if it does not recognize the historic features of marriage, it is neglecting the foundation. It is not being built off this old foundation, right? So when we say that like, I think a lot of times people think that including same-sex couples in marriage, right, is simply an expansion of the definition. Here we see, because it does not recognize any historical features, it is therefore a redefinition of what marriage is. And these historical features include things like monogamy, sexual exclusivity, and a vow of permanency, right? Okay, and also too, because the law has now locked in this view of marriage, it is saying that this way of marriage is right. It has always been right. That this view of marriage had a basis in ignorance, bigotry, and you know, other irrational bases, and so therefore we should not follow this view, right? This is the right way, not the correct way, but the right way. There's a difference, right? So again, let's find my spot here. Again, this is a revision of marriage. Excuse me. You know, and I also would like to point out the priorities that this one holds, because, like I said, love equals love. So this one is about fulfilling adult romance rather than more than anything else. It prioritizes romance, adult desire, that sort of thing, right? This view of marriage is about self-fulfillment, about defining and expressing identity. It prioritizes, you know, like I said, like the romance. It's an adult desire for like a sense of autonomy and nobility. It approaches. Basically, what I'm saying is this view of marriage serves the adult better than family life and children, right? That's a bold statement. I realize that is a bold statement. This will make much more sense as I unfold this vision of marriage. So let's go to the comprehensive view, right? So we talked about distinctions for this one. The distinctions for this view of marriage, right? Obviously, natural, but it aims to unite or form a union, right? It's a union that aims to unite them on all levels of their personhood. Union, like I said, unites them. I'll put it like this: unites on all levels of personhood. Okay, so what I mean by that, in every other relationship that you have, it's probably a mind-heart relationship, right? Your friends, co-workers, your peers, your colleagues, all mind-heart relationships. What makes this one distinct from any other relationship is that you give your body. You engage in the marital act with your spouse, right? So it's not, you're not cheating if you're going to a football game, basketball game, some other venue, because that would kind of be in the friends category, right? But you would be cheating if you engage in the marital act with somebody else by giving your body. So once you give your body to somebody else, then you would be breaking the distinction, doing something that is only supposed to be reserved for marriage, right? Okay, and so because it's a comprehensive view and that unites a person on all levels, it also comes with comprehensive norms and commitments, right? And so these commitments are a vow of permanency and exclusivity. Permanence plus exclusivity, right? It is saying that to give a total gift of the self, we must vow to, I give you now in this moment and throughout the duration of time, and I choose to only be with you, right? So I give myself to you by forsaking all others, and that fulfills the comprehensive commitments as well. So other one we talked about was government interest, right? The government is interested in this sort of relationship because a man and a woman, they produce children, and children are a public consequence, right? It's kind of an ugly word to use for children, but that's what they are, public consequence, because we then have to ask the question, whose children, right? And who's going to raise them? Who's going to care for them? Right? To make them, raise them up to be responsible adults to contribute back into the society. Government is interested in this sort of relationship because a man and woman then are made responsible for taking care of the life that they created, right? And ensuring the prosperity of that family, of the child, of that individual, to contribute back to the society as a whole. And we know when this right here breaks down, that social costs run high. So the way that we link the children to the man and woman is through marriage, and the way that we link the man and woman to each other is through marriage, right? So again, I talked about the priority and the approaching priorities to this union. So the priority for this one, for the comprehensive view, it is about family life, children, right, over romance. Or adult desire. That might be a better fitting word for this one. Adult desire. It would say like romance, these are sort of incidental things, right? It is not aimed at getting romance. It is just saying that romance is something that kind of naturally happens, right? In this relationship in a way that it doesn't happen here. On one level, a same-sex couple, it is only about romance, right? It's only about fulfilling the desires of the adults because they can't have children. It is impossible, in principle, it is impossible incidentally for a same-sex couple to have children. Rather than this one, we see that naturally men and women have children, and we want to make them responsible for raising that children. Therefore, this is the family life structure, right? It's not to say that every marriage has to have a child, it's that we're saying that every child is a result from a man and woman coming together. So it's more important that that child they deserve to be raised by their biological mother and their biological father. Okay? So this vision of marriage, the natural vision of marriage, right? Government recognizes. It did not create it. It recognized something that happens naturally in human interactions. Okay, it did not create it. As to this one, it is a complete creation of the government, therefore must be sustained and protected by the state. Okay, there's a whole lot of other issues that we can get into. I have to explain on some other videos, but I just wanted to make that clear that this is sustained by the government, by the state. This is a self-sustaining family life, right? Happens naturally. As to in this one, in some cases, it's going to have to be artificial. One last thing before I finish this video is I'm a little bit concerned or confused, I guess I could say, about gay rights, because in this vision of marriage, those who had the sexual orientations that were, lesbian, gay, they had the right, they had equal right and equal opportunity to fulfill the obligations that this vision required, right? It just seems like they weren't interested in this sort of relationship or those commitments, or those obligations, right? They wanted something like this. And as you can see, right here, the priorities and the norms that I'm going to explain in other videos, it's going to show a drastic polarization of each of these visions of marriage. I'm not to say that this vision of marriage could not uphold monogamy, sexual exclusivity, or a vow of permanence. It's that there's nothing in principle that locks them in. And you see, I know it sounds crazy, to say that, this side is just going to be uncivilized and these sort of things, but or hinting towards that, but we have internalized this view of marriage, and we are trying to take those principles and apply them here when that is not the case. There's nothing in principle that requires, right, that this sort of relationship has to be between two people, has to be permanent and sexually exclusive. And to do so would be, you would be trying to add something that was not there. You could have all those things, but it would be by preference, not by principle. Okay. So with that, I will finish this video, and we'll continue on with the norms.